Well, hello, welcome back. Aren't we funny as human beings? I mean, really, aren't we funny? It's very curious how we say we want things and we do the exact opposite. Really, you may be able to point out right away, right out front here, so many ways that you do that or you've done that in your own life. Say you want something, but in reality, you do the exact opposite of what's going to bring you that thing. You say you really, really want something more than anything, but you're afraid of it. So, small wonder that it doesn't come to pass, right? We're weird. We say we want to do something, but we do the complete opposite. So, pure non duality, let me just state, not a single one of us is in truth a human being. You knew I was going to say that. So there we are. Our reality is spirit, one with God. We're waking up to that, and there is a tremendous fear in our lives of awakening. If there weren't, we'd already be completely awake. Wouldn't we? Wouldn't we? We would. So we're taking this section, chapter 2, part 5 of the text of A Course in Miracles, just one or two short paragraphs at a time, because it's so packed full of meaning and so packed full of juicy little nuggets and items for us to consider and discuss that it's worth taking it really deliberately and slowly. Now, something that I want to point out that I've pointed out before here on these videos is that this course, A Course in Miracles, is holographic. Every single component part contains the whole of the thought system, and it is entirely consistent. Every single sentence of this course contains the entire thought system. You could, if you wanted to, open the text of A Course in Miracles to any random page and read one sentence at random, and that would contain the entire thought system. So, if that's the case, a couple of paragraphs certainly warrant at least a 15 to 20-minute discussion, don't they? So let's come back to this idea of fear of awakening, because it exists. It appears to exist here in the world, just like the world itself appears to exist, just like this appears to exist, just like when you look in the mirror, you appear to show up in this form that we've actually labeled human being. What is that but a collection of sounds that we've gotten together somehow, collectively, somewhere, at some point in time, and decided that's what we're going to call ourselves? This is true of anything in the world. What is that thing, really? Food for thought. So, because there is a fear of waking up, it's part of what makes us funny as human beings here in the world. We say we want something, but we refuse to do what we need to do to get it. We say we want to do something, but we do the exact opposite. Why? Fear, 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 and more fear. If you disagree, that's fine. What else would it be? We're talking about the function of the miracle worker here, to accept atonement for ourselves. And we're given here in the world a program of corrective learning. Your inner teacher gives you a program of corrective learning. And it starts with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from physical sight. Doesn't mean that you don't still see with the body's eyes. Of course, we're in the physical realm here, apparently here, right? So here in the world, you've got to be able to look around you and see things and function if you are sighted. And if you're not, then you've got other senses, most definitely, and 21st century technology to help you. Right. So turning away from physical sight means withdrawing your belief from it. It doesn't mean shutting your eyes like this and saying, "This, you're not here. You're not here. I wish you to go away," like little kids do. And some of them think that right, I think they all think that if you close your eyes, if you're a toddler and you close your eyes, then the people standing right in front of you don't exist. Which is kind of fun, isn't it? It's fun. But you open them back up, boom, there they are. We're not talking about that kind of withdrawal of physical sight. We're talking about a belief. We're talking about a thought system. We're talking about introducing ideas into our mind that what the body's eyes appear to show us is in fact not real. It's not who we are. It isn't true, though it certainly appears solid and concrete and sometimes painfully real. Sometimes it does. And what has already happened for you is this starting to turn away from physical sight has already happened. You are already interested in spirituality. There's so much other content to watch on YouTube. You could be watching anything else, but here you are. So this has already happened for you. Something has awakened in you that has caused you to take the next step, to seek what we call spiritual growth, to seek what we call personal growth or transformation. You've entered into the path. There are many ways to enter the path, aren't there? A Course in Miracles is just one of them, but this has happened for you somewhere at some point in time. So if you feel uncomfortable on the path, well, join the club. It's inevitable. And that discomfort can be seen as being very helpful, even if it might be acute right now, even if it might be very, very painful for you. This discomfort can be seen as a way to spur you on the path. It acknowledges the need for correction. It acknowledges that correction's necessary, and it can spur you on to accept atonement for yourself. In other words, to accept the correction of the Holy Spirit for yourself. So where does fear of healing come from? Where does fear of waking up actually come from? Well, it's from a deep and sometimes painful unwillingness to accept that healing is necessary. This is paragraph 8 here. It's from an unwillingness to accept that healing is necessary. We think in the world that we need to be rugged individualists, don't we? And so many of our global societies are based on this concept of individuality, which, as we know, is not true. It's the domain, the playground of ego. It is. It's the playground of the ego. I mean, take me for an example, if you wanna. I live in the United States. Rugged individualism, cowboys, John Wayne. It's me against the world. Now I'm gonna shoot you dead, right? That's the kind of attitude that predominates in this culture. Now, you can be from anywhere, and almost all of our global societies are that way. Maybe not to this extent, right? However, there is a tremendous prevailing belief here in the world, no matter where you're from, that this is you, and there are other things that look similar to you that are competing for what we deem to be scarce resources, that someone's out to get you. So you better put your fists up and defend yourself. That's the ego talking. We're living in the playground of the ego here, and there is an unwillingness, a deep-seated unwillingness in each of us to accept that healing is necessary. We think we've got it made. We think we've got all of the answers, and that we can just plow forward, put our heads down, do whatever we need to do to press through, and we will get the outcome that we want. Only, inevitably, we don't. So we end up turning back to the spiritual path for answers. If you do not believe that there's a deep-seated resistance to awakening, then I invite you to consider that again and ask yourself, if you say that you want the peace of God and nothing else, why do you act violently toward other people? Why do you judge? These are questions that each of us should ask if there's some skepticism here. Skepticism is good on the path. Remember that discomfort can be skillfully used. It can be very, very handy to bring to our conscious awareness the need for healing, the need for the correction of the Holy Spirit. We need that. So what we're doing here with all of these passages of the text, with all of the beautiful reinforcements that exist in the world, explanations and commentaries on A Course in Miracles, there's plenty of information out there, and some of it is quite excellent and very helpful to people's understanding. With all of the lessons in the workbook and sections from the manual for teachers, which is in a Q&A form, it's very, very handy and helpful to us, but we need the reinforcement that comes from repetition. And what we're doing is we're gradually, as need be, withdrawing our belief in physical sight, in what the body's eyes show us. Yes, we operate in the world. Don't forget to be normal. Pay the light bill and have dinner, okay? Yeah, nobody's saying you have to sell everything that you own and shave your head, take up robes, and go be a monk in the Himalayas. Yeah, no, that's not what needs to happen. You carry on with your life as it is, and just do normal things, but you don't have to see everything the same way. This course does not operate on the level of form, so it's not saying change your entire physical circumstance. If you're called to do that, fantastic, great. If you're not, then don't. It's truly that simple. This course aims to get us in touch with our inner teacher, so do what your inner teacher suggests that you do. Really. And allow your inner teacher to speak to you, to tell you what you should do. It's a very powerful way of setting aside the ego, because you're accepting that the way that we all try to draw it up, all of the plans that we set, all of the schemes that we concoct to try to orchestrate and manipulate all phenomena end up disappointing us, or at best we have some temporary satisfaction. And of course, that's only temporary. It doesn't last. So we're on the path to change our mind, to want only the peace of God. I want the peace of God. That is a well-known workbook lesson here in the course. Perhaps you've done the workbook, and perhaps you're doing it right now. So what do we do with the fact that this fear of awakening exists? How do we know it exists? Well, we're not always forgiving, are we? Judgment creeps back in. So when you notice yourself judging, when you notice yourself in a fear-based state, what do you do but bring your mind, bring your awareness back to the guidance of your inner teacher? Bring it back to forgiveness, true forgiveness of the Son of God. Bring it back to the idea of the day in the workbook, if you're going through the workbook. That's very handy as an anchor, isn't it? If this sounds like a meditation, it is. Spiritual practice, life in general, can be seen as a living, breathing, waking meditation when you notice yourself carried away in judgment, in blame, in fits of rage. Bring your awareness back to forgiveness. Bring your awareness back to our oneness, our essential and true oneness as the Son of God. Do that. I invite you to do that. And you will notice a couple of things. One, that eventually you'll find yourself not as fearful. You'll eventually find yourself not as afraid, and you'll find in time, how much time? I don't know. It depends on you and how often you remember to forgive. You'll find yourself more loving, more forgiving, and that things that used to bother you tremendously no longer affect you the same way. So you're going to find that, number one, that there's more peace in your life. Number two, you'll be able to notice very clearly, because of this, when you've gone off the rails, when you've gone astray, when you're judging, blaming, in a fit of rage, having a pity party, feeling like a victim, on and on, you name it. You'll be able to notice those and take corrective action. You'll notice that much, much faster the more you allow your inner teacher to speak to you, the more you accept atonement for yourself, the more often you do that, the more often you forgive. Because the fear of healing is certainly there, or we'd be awake already. So how do we deal with it? Well, give your entire experience over to your inner teacher and forgive, forgive, forgive. Just like that. The subscription button is right here. It is my pleasure to have you join me, and thank you all for subscribing, for your views and comments and questions. I welcome them here. I'm here to be a guide and to serve as a resource for you. So if you've got questions, please ask them, and thank you for your subscriptions again. I am so happy to share this course and my experience with you. So I hope that you've found and heard and seen exactly what you need today, especially having watched to the end. It's inevitable that you're going to get what you need to see from tuning in, isn't it? So that's a wonderful thing. All right, guys, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.